Hello, I'm Disbrew, and we kick off this week's weekly roundup with Call of Duty. We started the week by them actually confirming that all of the Call of Duties were going to remain on PlayStation past any previous contracts. Now, this, I think, was expected by most people just because of the size of Call of Duty and how much money it makes for everyone, but it could have also been used as this sort of sword of Damocles over PlayStation, so it was nice to have confirmation all the same. And then we got huge announcements about the future of Warzone with Warzone 2, and what's coming up in Warzone Season 2 tomorrow. And like most Call of Duty patches, the changes are welcome, they're decent, they're good changes, but they also don't really actually solve any of the fundamental problems of the game. With Warzone, we've got improvements like movement, vehicle handling, and parachutes deploying at a lower vertical height. We've got mantle height improvements and collision fixes for vehicles and players. The gas mask, my favourite change of all, will no longer interrupt operators who aim down sight, something that I think has got everyone that plays the game killed at some point or another, and armor plates, rather than refilling a broken plate first, will now fill the full plate. Great quality of life changes, but just quality of life changes all in all. It's not really enough changes for me, especially when you got Caldera, which is just a mess. And I don't actually mean bugs, I mean the map itself. In a call with content creators earlier in the week, the Warzone devs themselves said they are not happy with the bloated state of the game. Warzone simply has too many guns in one point, which was obvious to anyone with even 2 brain cells at the moment they announced it. That yes, if you keep adding every gun from every game, then eventually you're going to run out of spaces for a gun, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. I don't really know what they thought they were doing in this, and apparently they didn't think that far ahead. Due to this, the developers are actually just skipping Warzone altogether and making Warzone 2. And while they say, oh, it's on a new engine, it seems more like it's just wiping the slate clean of everything they've added because it caused too many problems for themselves. The thing is, if they keep integrating all of the new games into Warzone 2, they're eventually going to hit the same issue, so I'm not really sure what the difference of their plan is here. Something that won't please console players is that console players have confirmed that they're not going to be getting a FOV slider. For the previous console generations, this FOV slider would simply be too difficult to actually render on the screen. However, for the new generations, while they could have the power to do so, it has been suggested that this would be unfair, which is why they can't give it to them either. All in all, it's probably one of the worst reasons I think you could actually not give someone a feature, but here we are. The Warzone 2 announcement itself was done along several other announcements, including the fact that the next Call of Duty will be a Modern Warfare sequel. This leaked many months ago and will surprise basically nobody, but it's nice to have official confirmation all the same. Also, a Microsoft executive has said that he wants to bring the Call of Duty games to Switch, which seems a little bit odd to me, but hey, there is Call of Duty Mobile. Maybe they're just talking about a straight port there. That'll be interesting to see what happens when the Microsoft acquisition goes through. And finally, Call of Duty Vanguard is getting a ranked mode for the multiplayer. The ranked mode itself is everything you would expect. With 5 different place matches, you'll get ranked royalty, go through various different levels, and can unlock skins and everything else for it. The modes themselves will feature 4v4 hardpoint, search and destroy, and control modes, with all matches following the official Call of Duty League rule set. Now, a Vanguard multiplayer ranked mode is great for the people that are interested in that kind of thing, but for me, I'm more interested in the Warzone side of it myself, and a ranked Rebirth Resurgence Iron Trials mode is basically my perfect BR. Call of Duty. Make it happen. Lost Ark has taken the gaming space by storm and smashed any expectations anyone had for the game. I'm sure Amazon is very pleased at this point. A Korean game which has been ported over by and published by Amazon recently launched under a paywall initially with early access, although it is a free-to-play MMO game in sort of the Diablo action RPG style. Already accruing 500,000 players during its early access paywall opening, when it launched as free-to-play, it achieved 1.321 million players, which is the second highest concurrence for any game ever on Steam, only beaten by PUBG at around 3.6 million, which is, most people think, will probably never be broken, or at least not for a very, very long time. This beats everything from Dota 2 to Cyberpunk, and it kind of blew everything out of the water, out of the blue. And I love games that launch to this kind of success, and I'm just always interested in exactly how long they can maintain those player numbers afterwards, especially as Lost Ark already has a bank of content from its previous release in other countries. But also, as Lost Ark is constantly compared to Diablo, I think there's a question about how successful would Blizzard's game have been if they pulled their finger out and actually released a sequel. When you have a game series like Dark Souls, which is renowned for being difficult, it's understandable that people are cautious about Elden Ring given the news which has been coming out about it. And during various interviews, the developers keep saying things like, oh no, we wanted to make it less stressful for more players, and more players will finish this game, we promise. But it's not easier, but it is less difficult. I can absolutely understand players being a bit cautious about this one. This comes off the back of the latest news that the network test box Margit the Fell was maybe a bit too hard and has already been nerfed even before launch. Why? Well, a few games journalists are allowed to play it. They said it was too difficult, and then it got nerfed. Now, I'm not surprised personally that a games journalist finds anything too difficult, but what I am surprised about is that's what you base your actual balancing acts around. So, this could be an interesting idea for the game, but we'll have to wait until release to find out whether, even after all of these nerfs and difficulty changes to accommodate lesser skilled players, that the hardcore players are still satisfied with the level of challenge they are provided with. One thing that I don't mind being changed, though, is the run back from the bosses. One developer has commented that they have deliberately placed the checkpoints closer to bosses to lower the amount of running back in between respawns. Now, while he does say that's to reduce player stress, honestly, for me, it's more about boredom. I don't find running through mobs just to get back to where I died interesting at all. I just want to fight the boss again so I can die again. You can make the boss as difficult as it is. I don't actually think running back to it adds challenge or anything else. It's just repetitiveness, which everyone runs past without any challenge anyway. So if those are the changes that the developers are talking about, then personally, I don't have a problem with it. But if they start nerfing the bosses into the ground, then this could be an interesting backlash. We'll have to wait and see. Fortnite, renowned for its movie and games tie-ins at this point, has now obviously jumped on the next bandwagon, Uncharted. Although I have to say at this point, I'm glad that Nathan Drake actually looks like Nathan Drake, because Tom Holland certainly doesn't. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, did he just add this in so he could comment on Tom Holland and how bad a casting choice he was for Nathan Drake? And the answer is yes. Yes, I did. Assassin's Creed Valhalla has released a new trailer for its Dawn of Ragnarok expansion. And while I think it looks very good and pretty fun, I still have my concerns. While Ubisoft call this their most ambitious expansion, you will play as the Norse god Odin trying to save his son Baldur against the unkillable giant of Surtur. And honestly, these pronunciations, I'm really not sure, I'm sorry. You'll fight various different frost giants from Jotunheim and other places, and it's all about fighting magical creatures with magical powers. You'll have various things from the ability to fly and teleport and control frost and fire. And all in all, it looks great, but to me, it's just like God of War or Shadow of Mordor. That's not really things I want from an Assassin's Creed game. I liked Assassin's Creed when it was sneakily going through cities, jumping across rooftops and assassinating people before getting away before you were caught. And now, you're a god who can take on giants. I mean, I don't know where this game has actually lost its roots, but I definitely think it has, at least for why I play Assassin's Creed. And if this was a game under another title, I'd probably be very interested in it. I'd probably pick it up myself, but it's not what I want from Assassin's Creed, and so all I feel when I watch it is kind of disappointment at the game that could have been there in its place. So while I have to say the trailer itself looks really cool, and I'm sure a lot of people that buy this will get a lot of enjoyment from it, especially if you're a big fan of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which, for all intents and purposes, was a more action-based game as it was. For me, I just wish Ubisoft was a little more careful about dividing up their properties into what they were meant to be, and they stayed true to the roots of what that property is, rather than trying to make all of their games merge so they're all one big amorphous blob which you can't really tell the difference of. Like, I should not be looking at Assassin's Creed and thinking, this looks like Shadow of Mordor with a different skin. Now, I don't normally cover Nintendo and Switch stuff on this because I don't normally know that much about it, and there's far more knowledgeable people on the Gaming with the Geeks team. But I do know Portal, and Valve, this is one of their best creations. If you have never played Portal and you've got a Switch, get it. You will not regret it. Not only does it have great memes, but it's got great puzzles. Using a portal gun to get around, this is a little puzzler itself, but it has a great sense of humor and characters and memes which have been around for years and years. If you've ever wondered why the cake is a lie, then this is the game for you. The Companion Collection features Portal 1 and 2, and if you've never played it, it is well worth picking up. I highly recommend it. VR is steadily growing across the entire gaming space. How do we know that? Well, an insurance company was complaining that in 2021, its VR-related claims rose by 31%. Anyone that's ever played VR knows exactly why this happened. You are essentially blindfolded and then told to jump around your room. It's pretty impressive. It's very amazing tech, but you don't want anyone in your nearby vicinity, from pets to the wife, they should just stay out of your range when you're in VR. And also, I have no idea why people choose to do it around their televisions, but don't. It's an accident waiting to happen, and that's where these insurance claims are coming from. I've done everything myself, from punch wardrobes to mirrors, but I've also seen a guy try to ram his own face through the floor. It is very, very immersive, and you will forget where you are and what you're doing, so just make sure your space is safe before you put the headset on. And we know that the Meta Quest Store, I hate that name, has quadrupled its revenue over the last 3 years. VR is taking off, and as that happens, more and more people are going to fall foul of its problems. But let me know what you thought of any of the topics down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe, more videos like this in the future. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.